Hello my friends, today I'm going to talk about something very near and dear to my heart, that is, just why doesn't Valve fix competitive matchmaking? Now, the community was super optimistic, well, most of the community, about matchmaking during the open beta. Now, there are a lot of obvious problems that the community identified, and once they were solved, the system was looking really solid. So we all waited in anticipation for release, only to find out that pretty much all of the community's wishes had been ignored, and matchmaking came out with a ton of problems we expected that would be fixed during the beta. Now, a lot of these problems got fixed in later patches, but there were a few that remained that just seemed like no-brainers to the community. These unpopular settings and poorly implemented systems just drove people away and really prevented matchmaking from flourishing as we all hoped it would. I was thinking, why is this the case? To try and figure it out, I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate. I'm going to try to argue for the current system, all the unpopular things in it right now, to try and figure out what Valve's reasoning for these systems are, and then I'll wrap it up with my own thoughts in the end. First of all, graphical restrictions. Now, for any competitive game, it's important to have a level playing field. Restricting graphic settings is essential to make sure no players have a significant advantage over one another. Disabling mods and homogenizing configs is an important part of that. TF2 is a great looking game, and Valve has been very lenient with the settings in the past. However, if your game looks about as good as a Hammer map editor viewport, something has gone very wrong. Sure, players with anemic hardware may experience frame issues, but their computer probably couldn't run TF2 in the first place. Maybe it's time to upgrade from mum's laptop if you can't run this 2007 game without extremely aggressive FPS configs. View models are just part of this homogenization as well. It's important that any footage of this game streamed on Twitch or uploaded to YouTube is clear and representative of the game as a whole. Now, for abandonment penalties. In the perfect world, where abandonment is the result of an uncontrollable disconnect or emergency, the current system is actually pretty perfect. An abandon completely ends the game, without rewarding or punishing either team. This is good because it respects your current rank, and ensures you won't lose it just because a teammate is told by their dad to go sweep out the gutters, and this has happened to me. Any player that abandons frequently will find themselves with incredibly harsh cooldown penalties and massive rank penalties, which heavily discourages anyone from doing it frequently, as it slows your climb to higher ranks to an absolute crawl. Now for the map pool. 5CP is far from a perfect game mode. Experimenting with an attack-defense map like Gorge is healthy for the game, because it forces players to develop new strategies, as well as giving specialist classes, which are usually relegated to last defenses only, an opportunity to really shine. Another benefit of attack defense is that it ensures stalemates are impossible, and adds much needed variety to the map pool. As for Swiftwater, yeah, I've got nothing, I have no idea what that's doing here. Alright, so those are my reasons why I think the current systems might be in place. Just my best kind of guess. Here's my thoughts. And that's what we're all here for, right? That's why I'm here anyway. Alright, as for graphics configs, I really believe that removing mods that give an unfair advantage, like no explosion smoke on rockets, yeah, it's important. But other than that, other than those really exploitable kind of settings, I believe that anything kind of cosmetic should be allowed to be turned down. I believe that it's far more important to get TF2's large, dedicated fan base into matchmaking, playing matchmaking, able to enjoy it. That should be the priority. I totally agree with restricting things here, to a point, but if you go so far that people that have loved and played your game for all these years simply can't have an enjoyable experience, you're doing something wrong. I've got friends that would love to play some rounds of comp with me, but feel like they're at too much of a disadvantage. The FPS configs have given them a taste of good frames, and they're not willing to give them up. As for view models, I know a lot of people will hate me for saying this, but I do think they should be forced on. What I do think also, though, is that view model FOV should not be as, strictly enforced. I don't think having super long noodle arms is really necessary, but some of the settings that were forced on were just ridiculous and made players feel really uncomfortable. Once again, these are players that have been playing your game for years, and I don't see what's so wrong about letting them play with, what they're used to. Personally, I love the min-mode view models that were introduced with the update, but they're not for everyone. That being said, the sad truth is that if my first exposure to TF2 was watching a max frames config with no view models, yeah, I know I never would have tried the game or even thought about it twice. Then I never would have made this channel, and then I wouldn't be talking to you right now. Not everyone new to TF2 is from previous FPS games. Hell, I'd never even played any multiplayer games before I tried TF2, so it's important to make sure the gameplay, yeah, is clear, and it is obvious what's going on. My solution, like many solutions in life, is a compromise. Unrestrict a large number of graphics commands, but don't allow commands and modifications that give an unfair advantage. View models should stay forced, but definitely relax the settings around them. Now for abandons. The fact that any player can leave the game at any point, even if you're about to win, and nullify the entire game, is a huge reason to never even bother with matchmaking. It makes all the time and effort you spend into winning or losing seem totally pointless, that all of your progress in a match can be taken away in an instant. Honestly, I don't actually experience abandons that much, but when they do happen, they just feel so awful, and going into any game knowing that your 15 or 20 minutes could just be totally nullified, it's a huge reason to just not want to play matchmaking at all. Here's the worst part. Now that losses at low rank result in barely any reduction, I just see no reason for the system to be in place. The whole point seems to be to make sure you aren't punished when you have a friendly player leave on your team, but since the penalty is so low for losing rank now, it just barely even matters. Plus, the rank penalty for abandoning is so harsh, that's a good thing, that at higher ranks abandons will be much rarer and cancelling the game isn't necessary. Moving on to the map pool. I really do think that more game modes and map being experimented with in competitive is a good thing. Now, I'm not saying that Gorge is perfect, but it is a start. The only reason that the class and weapon lineups in competitive are so, I'm going to use the word stale, is because of the maps that are played. Obviously, if the only maps available are 5CP and KOF, maps designed about mobility and speed, of course the most mobile and speedy classes are going to be used on it. However, in a map like Gorge, it gives other classes a really good chance to shine. Swiftwater though, I was just shocked when I got dropped into this massive map to play 6v6 payload. I've got no idea what's going on with that. I'd love to be informed. And there you have it. Let me know why you think Valve has set up matchmaking the way they have. Hopefully, they'll finally relent, because I know that if players could just have their frames, they win the games they deserve to win, and the map pool is solid, COD matchmaking could easily replace casual for me as just the default way to play the game. When it works, matchmaking is a blast, and it just needs a few tiny tweaks to make it perfect. Right now, there's just too many reasons not to play. Anyway, that's all I have for you right now. Catch you next time.